Hello, hope you're doing well and welcome to my SMITE 2 AMATERASU guide. Ama is one of SMITE's most balanced and versatile warriors, truly a jack of all trades who offers just about anything you need on the battlefield. And today I will be teaching you absolutely everything you need to know before picking her up. Amaterasu joins the battleground as a physical melee damage dealer, combining consistent sustained damage, outstanding mobility CC and utility alongside team-oriented buffs that would put even the best supports to shame. She boasts a flexible kit that allows her to dominate the front line while providing valuable crowd control and mobility. However, she does rely on proper positioning and timing to make the most of her abilities. This guide will teach you not only how to play, but also where to play and how to build Amaterasu to amplify her strengths and minimize her weaknesses. Note that I'll be posting guides for all of SMITE 2's characters, so make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on more SMITE 2 content. I've also linked my Discord server down in the description. If you have any questions or want to join a friendly, toxic-free SMITE community, then our Discord is the perfect place for you. With that all out of the way, let's get started by diving into Amaterasu's abilities. Ama's passive is called Illuminating Strike. This passive makes her basic attacks illuminate her enemies after hitting them 3 times, revealing their weaknesses. Once illuminated, enemies and those nearby take increased damage from all sources. This passive is incredibly effective in prolonged fights as it boosts your entire team's damage output against key targets. Keep an eye on illuminated targets to prioritize them in fights, as they'll take significantly more damage. Her first ability is Divine Presence. Divine Presence is a self-heal and buff. Activating this ability heals Amaterasu over 4 seconds and alternates between 2 buffs, Gold Stance and Red Stance. Gold Stance provides a health shield for 6 seconds and grants a persistent movement speed buff to you and all allies around you. Red Stance provides an attack speed buff for 6 seconds and a persistent strength and intelligence buff to you and all allies around you. Divine Presence is a versatile ability that allows you to adapt to any given situation. Use Gold Stance when you need sustain or mobility, and switch to Red Stance for enhanced damage output. Learning when to alternate stances is key to mastering Amaterasu. Her second ability is Heavenly Reflection. Amaterasu charges her mirror and decreases all damage she takes while charging. You can reactivate this ability to fire a projectile that deals physical damage, which increases based on how much the mirror has been charged. The mirror charges based on damage dealt and taken, and if fully charged, the mirror's base damage is doubled. This ability rewards aggressive play as you'll want to stay in the thick of the fight to maximize the mirror's charge, and it's also a great tool for zoning and punishing enemies who focus you. Heavenly Reflection is Amaterasu's main source of damage and wave clear, so I would recommend that you level this first. It also is very helpful to get the extra damage mitigation. Her third ability, Glorious Charge, is a gap closer and CC tool. Amaterasu silences enemies in a line for 1 second then dashes forward, dealing physical damage and piercing through and damaging minions but stopping on the first enemy god hit. Glorious Charge is your main engage and escape tool. The silence is particularly offensive against ability-reliant gods as it prevents them from using their kit during your initiation. Use it to dive into fights and secure kills. Last but not least, Amaterasu's ultimate is Dazzling Offensive. When activated, she becomes CC immune and attacks 3 times in a quick succession, dealing physical damage in a cone in front of her with each hit. Each attack increases its power and applies a bonus effect. The second hit slows enemies by 30% for 2 seconds, and the third hit stuns enemies for 1.5 seconds. Note that if you hit the 2 prior attacks, the last attack will be in a 360-degree circle around her as opposed to a cone. Dazzling Offensive is Amaterasu's most impactful ability, allowing her to lock down enemies and deal massive amounts of damage in teamfights. It's a strong initiation tool but can also be used to chase down fleeing opponents, or even peel for you and your backline if need be. Now that you understand Amaterasu's abilities, let's talk over how to use them together. For most situations, Amaterasu will want to make sure 2 conditions either apply before or are completed when executing an ability combination. Firstly, you will want to ensure that you stack Illuminating Strike completely before dealing the bulk of your damage. This ensures that any subsequent damage benefits from the percent increase. In a similar fashion, you will want to switch to Red Stance before to gain increased strength and intelligence. Furthermore, the bonus attack speed will assist in stacking Illuminating Strike faster. These 2 prerequisite actions stand true for all of our combos, so make sure you keep that in mind. Your primary combo will start with Heavenly Reflection into Glorious Charge to silence and close the gap on your target. Follow up with basic attacks to start charging your mirror, and once it is fully charged, reactivate it to deal heavy damage. Remember to switch to red stance from Divine Presence for an increased attack speed and damage during the fight. In team fights, you'll want to start charging your mirror with Heavenly Reflection, followed up by Dazzling Offensive to disrupt multiple enemies. Aim to land all 3 hits, as the slow and stun effects will devastate the enemy team. The last hit of which will apply alongside the activation of the mirror, leading to an unexpected burst of damage. Throw in Glorious Charge or your Blink Relic if you need to close the distance beforehand. As for your defensive capabilities, switching to Gold Stance from Divine Presence to gain a health and shield movement speed buff is very effective. Use Glorious Charge to create distance or silence a pursuing enemy. Keep in mind that Heavenly Reflection will offer damage reduction, which increases your chances of survival. If you want to see these combos in action, check out my channel where I've posted some AMATERASU gameplay videos that you might find helpful. Moving on, where should you play AMATERASU? Ama is most effective in the solo lane, where her sustain, wave clear, frontline potential make her an excellent pick. Her ability to outlast opponents and rotate effectively with Divine Presence makes her a standout choice in this role. As a support, AMATERASU can provide excellent utility with her buffs, silences, and ultimate. However, her lack of hard crowd control outside of her ultimate makes her less reliable when compared to a traditional support. In the jungle, AMATERASU can function as an off-meta pick. Her gap closer and ultimate allow her to gank effectively, while her reliance on basic attacks and stance management makes her less efficient when compared to other staple junglers. As for ADC and mid lane, AMATERASU tends to struggle. This is due to her lack of ranged auto attacks and reliance on sustained fights. Picks the solo lane support and sometimes jungle for the best results. Now we've arrived to the build section, the one that you guys probably have been waiting for, and now I can't give you an exact build for AMATERASU, as items in SMITE 2 often go through changes and fall in and out of the meta, but I can tell you which stats to focus on and suggest some core items. For solo lane, prioritize protections and intelligence alongside cooldown reduction. AMATERASU's high mobility and defensive abilities allow her to build bruisier, focusing items that offer both intelligence and protection. So I recommend focusing on aggressive items. Gladiator Shield, Sphere of Negation, Shifter Shield, and Triton's Conch are great forms of both damage and defenses. As for cooldown rate, prior mentioned Gladiator Shield alongside Phoenix Shield and Pridwin come to mind. All of these give you cooldown you are looking for while throwing in some defensive stats. If a tankier playstyle is more to your liking, Breastplate of Valor and Genji's Guard alongside Spirit Robe are excellent options for high protections and cooldown reduction. If you're playing AMATERASU in the support role, you'll want to focus very heavily on protections, utility, and cooldown reduction. Starting off, Gauntlet of Thebes and Prophetic Cloak stand head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to the core support items, offering you and your team strong defensive stats. For cooldown reduction and defensive stats, Prophetic Cloak, Breastplate of Valor, and Genji's Guard will ensure that you can constantly use your utility to aid your team and stay healthy while you do so. Adding to your already high utility can prove very troublesome for the enemy team. Amanita's Charm and Talisman of Purification will give you alternate ways to assist your team through their powerful active effects. Finally, in jungle, you'll want to focus heavily on intelligence, penetration, and cooldown reduction. Book of Thoth, Doom Orb, and Rod of Tahuti will greatly increase your damage. As for penetration, Rod of Tahuti, Totem of Death, and Necronomicon come to mind. These will allow you to easily cut through enemies' defense. And finally, if you want to throw cooldown reduction into the mix, Gem of Focus, Staff of Muradin, and the prior mentioned Totem of Death are great ways to get cooldown reduction and other stats you are looking for. As always, remember that items depend on the situation. Focus on the stats you need, cooldown reduction, power, or protections, and adjust your build accordingly. If you need help with builds, join my Discord server where I and other community members can give you any advice or answer quick questions. Now finally, I wanted to give you some tips that you can employ when using AMATERASU. First of which is use Divine Presence wisely. Alternate between gold stance and red stance depending on whether you need sustain and mobility or increased damage. Timing your stance switches is critical. Remember to not only focus on what you need, but also what benefits your team. A properly timed switch to red stance when clearing an objective can make all the difference. And switching to gold stance when the team is on the retreat could be vital for a safe escape. Second, maximize Illuminating Strike by making sure to apply this debuff onto multiple targets and focus the targets that have been illuminated. These targets take increased damage, so make sure that you and your team prioritize them during fights and you should do just fine. With Dazzling Offensive, you'll want to land all 3 hits. The slow and stun effects are crucial for controlling teamfights and securing kills. Position yourself to hit as many enemies as possible, and if you need to use your dash and or blink relic to do so, then feel free. And finally, with Glorious Charge, try to silence priority targets, such as mages or assassins, before they can unleash their abilities. A great tool for disrupting enemy combos and straight up interrupting some abilities. That's it, you've reached the end of my AMATERASU guide. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more SMITE 2 content. Don't forget to join my Discord for tips, questions, or just hanging out with other SMITE players. And finally, follow me on Twitch to watch live gameplay and ask questions directly. I have some other socials down there as well, like TikTok and Twitter if you're interested. But like I mentioned, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye!